Hey guys, welcome to the Higher Points, and today we're coming at you with it to the point, and we're going to talk about Nick's awesome accomplishment he had over the last 75 days-ish, 85 now, something like that. But Nick finished 75 hard, which is a very impressive accomplishment, and he's just going to talk about his experiences there, and we'll bounce some ideas off each other about it, and go with flow.
Yeah, we've both kind of like ventured into that realm.
I tried and failed.
And then, I think it was also interesting because you and I, like you're the one that introduced me to Andy, and like at first I really I'm seriously considering like taking that mic, or actually probably the cable. But anyway, okay. So you're the one that introduced me to Andy, and at first I really couldn't stand him because he was like dropping the F-bomb every 3 seconds. And then you talked about him more and more and more and that kind of stuff. And so I started listening to him more, and then I kind of like was like, okay, like this is this dude's personality. Like he's just intense. Mm-hmm. And
he's
all that
very
good stuff.
compassionate about everything he talks about.
And so I was just like he always talked about 75 hard and all this other kind of stuff. And I always saw it personally as kind of like this like insurmountable thing, like where I was like, I would never be able to do that or whatever. And then I saw, you doing it a couple of times, and I was just like slowly working myself into it, and then also seeing Dallas do it, and I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna do this, like, and you and I started it at the same day, and then I was just like full send.
I made it like 4 days,
and I was just like full send because and then you were feeling bad because you were like, you didn't want to tell me because you're like, you didn't want to like mess with the mojo. Mm-hmm. And so I guess we should probably start from the beginning. So 75 hard is, Andy calls it a program. Like it's not a challenge. It's not anything else. It's a program.
It's not a fitness challenge.
Yeah. It's more about mental toughness than it is about weight loss or anything like that. It's just basically to make you kind of mentally stronger, to change your thought process, and
check the boxes every day,
and check yourself too is mainly what it is. Because at the end of the day, all of the critical tasks that you have to complete, there's nobody there looking and monitoring. Like you could lie your way through the program if you wanted to. Mm-hmm. Nobody's gonna truly know.
But it's like college, like.
You can easily lie your way through college. I watched it happen during my degree. But anyway, continue.
Yep, you can. Well, you can lie your way through it.
Yeah.
But what do you get out of it?
Yeah. And that's just the other thing, too, is you also see it when, at the end, how people are. Not only in how they look, but how they act, how they talk. And you can kind of tell the difference between the people that have really done it versus the people that kind of said they did it. Mm-hmm. And the way they say they did it and all that other kind of stuff. And then also the way they kind of quote unquote party afterwards. And so to start again from the beginning, essentially it's 75 hard is 75 constant days of 2 workouts a day, one of which has to be outside regardless of weather condition. Now, Andy does say, like, use common sense. If there's a tornado outside, don't be going outside to do your 45-minute workout. Then you have a daily progress picture, a gallon of water, 10 pages in a book, and then following a diet of some kind. It doesn't matter what the diet is, essentially, as long as it's like some sort of a healthy diet. We won't get too deep into the weeds on that. And then no cheat meals or alcohol. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I missed anything. Is that all of them?
No, that's right.
Okay. And so, I guess just to kind of start in the beginning. So the first, 2 workouts, the way I kind of did them was when the gym was open, I would do one at the gym. And then I kind of went back to, I guess, my old school way of doing things where it was more like bodybuilding type stuff of just kind of focusing like bis and tris, chest and back. I did try to institute some of the stuff that Felicia taught me when it came to like push pull. Mm-hmm. So if I did a pushing motion, I was following up with a pull. And, and then after that, I would find a reason or somehow to walk like outside for 45 minutes, like with my dog, or locking the college doors on campus or whatever it was, which one of my coworkers loved me because for essentially 75 days, I was locking the entire college campus because it was about 38 minutes on foot to get it all done.
Yeah.
And so it was an opportunity for me to get out with my dog and walk around and then listen to Andy and get it in. And then I'd just make a couple extra laps or whatever and then head home. So that was kind of how I did the whole thing. If the gym wasn't open, then I basically just walked kind of twice a day. And then so you take the daily progress picture. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. Andy wants it done essentially in your underwear. So he says since it's not a diet program, the daily progress picture is a way for you to tangibly see your progress that you would have mentally. Like it's kind of like that outward symbol of your mental growth that you can watch something. Because on a program like this, and you're working on your mind, there's nothing for you to really look at or compare or put side by side to really see what the growth was.
But like as your mind builds, like your body follows and gets better and better.
Yeah, and that was another thing too. I found that the days, like there were walls. There were certainly walls for me around 20, was like in the 20-ish day area, there was a wall. And then there was another wall again about 50, 45, 50, somewhere around in there. And I found that when I would I'd sit in my patrol car and I would or my truck or whatever, wherever I was, and I'd sit there and I'd kind of put my head back and it'd be like 5 more minutes is kind of what I tell myself. And Andy calls that the bitch voice. Mm-hmm. You have your boss voice and your bitch voice, and he says the best way you can kind of illustrate it is you have an angel on one shoulder, devil on the other. The angel's telling you what you need to do, and you need to do that, but the devil's saying or the bitch voice is telling you, well, you've worked hard up into this point, and that's kind of kind of where people get is, I was good on my diet all week, like I can do like McDonald's all weekend or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I found that when I was in those moments of just really dreading, truly dreading getting out and walking, because and I also chose to do the program at this time because it was the holidays. It was cold outside. Like I wanted to challenge myself through those times because I knew that I was going to be tempted with amazing food. I knew that I was going to be tempted to want to stay inside because it's like warm inside. It's comfortable inside. But if I found myself just get up in that moment, like if I just flipped the switch right there in that moment where my brain was like, no, don't, and boom, got to it, it was like a fire. I can't explain it. It was just like there was extra coal in the engine, and I would just absolutely burn through that workout more than the days that I was quote unquote motivated to do it. And it was just an interesting phenomenon that I hadn't really anticipated. And so just going through it, it was cool to be able to bounce things off of you, bounce things off of Dallas. And, really just kind of get some ideas and then also ask questions. Like there was one day I went to the range and I was like, hey, Dallas, I was like, what do you think? Like I'm going to the range and I'm going to be like running back and forth and stuff. Like, can I count that as my 45 minutes? And he goes, the rule of thumb is if you have to ask, no, it doesn't. Mm-hmm. With the point with which you're trying to justify it, no, it doesn't. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'll go run around at the range and essentially kind of get a workout in. But then after that, I'm going to the gym. And, it was interesting too, because there were a lot of people that were like kind of looking at me and like shaking their head. Like, you're doing what? Like, oh goodness. Like, well, I couldn't give up my sweets right now. I couldn't do that right now. I couldn't. And I'm like, exactly. Like, that's exactly why I did it. And I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be like you. I want to be more mentally resilient.
It'd be better than you.
Yeah. And so I was like, that's exactly why I chose to do it during this time. And some people were telling me like I'm crazy or I could never do that or whatever. And I'm like, I used to think that same way.
Hide and watch.
But it was also interesting too, because, there were a lot of those things that I was already doing. Like I wasn't necessarily doing the 2 days of working or the 2 workouts a day. And I wasn't necessarily doing the water or the food, but just like having to essentially pivot, because the way my schedule works is I work 7-11 to 7s, which is midnight shift. So 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. 1 day off, 6-3 to 11s, do a turnaround. Like today was my turnaround. So I worked until 11 last night, get off, come back at 7 a.m. on Sunday morning, work 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. So my schedule is always changing. Well, in that, through the last 12 years of being a cop, things come up. Like I have to wake up for court, or I have to wake up for this, or I got this family barbecue, or this, that, and the other. So I think that helped prepare me for 75 hard, because there were times that I was having to pivot
Constantly pivoting.
Yeah, where I would be like, okay, I'm gonna go get my workout in real quick, but then suddenly it's Rice County to 519. I have this call that you now need to respond to that takes up 2 hours of your time and completely screws with what you had planned.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I wasn't working, like my kids want to play video games, and I don't want to tell them no. I want to hang out with them, but I was like, I want to go do my workout. So there was that constant
You don't need
pivoting.
to hang out with your kids, according to Andrew Tate.
Man, we already been over this, all right? You need to let it go. I'm right and you're wrong. That's all there is to it. And so, so it was just constantly pivoting. And, Dallas was telling me, he's like, man, you've got it rough because of your schedule. And I was just like to me, that's just life. Like I didn't see it as rough. So getting the workouts in weren't necessarily hard. I must say that I enjoyed the gym more. It was kind of nice to get something different in there and also just kind of do what I wanted for a little while, although I'm kind of like not liking that again. So that Felicia's giving me workouts and stuff again, and that's been nice. And they didn't do me any favors when it came to deadlift. My deadlift is nowhere near what it used to be. And also, to be fair, when I tried that poll a couple of days ago, Felicia always says it's like 2 days later when things start to manifest, like with your dehydration or whatever. That 2 days earlier, I had ate like crap. I hadn't hydrated well. And then also, because of the weight loss that I had during 75 hard, I lost about 25-ish pounds. I weighed with the same scale every time at the gym. And I did it every Monday. And so as a result, like my weight belt doesn't fit anymore. Like the Velcro overlaps too much where there's no Velcro for me to like strap onto anymore. So when I do strap it on, it's decently loose. So I'm really not getting any support. My knee sleeves, they don't fit anymore. They're too loose. Yeah. And some of that stuff's old too, and I need to replace it. So that was kind
of
like
with my leg sleeves too. Them things are wore out.
Well, it was kind of an interesting thing because I didn't even realize it because I hadn't really been using it a lot because I hadn't been lifting super heavy. And I was basically doing like dumbbells and machines and stuff like that. I wasn't really doing a whole lot with the barbell.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting, I guess, kind of benefit, but also detriment in a way because that stuff's not cheap. Buying all new of that, is not a cheap endeavor.
Well, a belt's like $100 at least.
Well, and I want to get a lever belt like yours because I think that, when it comes to like deadlift and squat and stuff, like you need that extra, like just really rigid support for you to support against with your abs.
Yeah. And I mean, you buy a decent one and you may never have to buy another belt. You
know? So when it came to we talked about the workouts, the progress picture is kind of self-explanatory. For me, I just kind of did the progress picture usually at the end of my day, which kind of sometimes sucked because I was also slamming water at the end of the day. There would be some times that out of my gallon of water, I would have like 2/3 of a gallon left and I'm ready for bed.
I would start early, like when I did mine, because I had a constant schedule. Like when I tried 75 hard, go to the gym, 5 o'clock, and I had most of my gallon of water done. And I'd take my progress pick when I got back, so I had a lot of things done. And then sometimes I'd even read in the mornings before, because if I would read when I lay down in bed at night, I'm out snoring while I'm trying to read. Wake up, it's like 12:30. It's like, oh fuck.
Well, and everything, saying everything on 75 hard is based on your sleep schedule. And so like it's before you fall asleep. That's the day. So if you have a rotating schedule, you can still make it work.
I messed the reason I failed is because I didn't get my shit done in the morning and I pushed it off and I forgot to take my picture. Oh. Woke up at like 12:30 and 1 o'clock. I was like, well,
damn.
I lose.
Well, the thing about the progress picture at the end of the day like that is when I was slamming water, I'd get bloated. Yeah. So then you'd go and you'd like want to compare it and you're like, ugh, like I didn't lose. But then the very next day when I'd wake up, like you could see the difference. So I started to try to kind of take it more when I would wake up or when I would get out of the shower or something like that. But there was really no rhyme or reason to it, and I didn't set any notifications on my phone because I didn't want my phone telling me like, oh, don't forget this, oh, don't forget that, oh, don't forget this, because like I wanted my brain to not be reliant on the device. Like you can in the 75 Hard app from the Play Store set up reminders, but I didn't want to do that.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I didn't even download the app. Just wanted to do it raw and unfiltered. See how that worked out for me.
And then when it came to the actual when it came to the actual like diet, basically the way I looked at the diet was like if it was loaded with a bunch of preservatives that I didn't really like recognize, like for me, citric acid is just like lemon juice, and citric acid can be used as a preservative. So if it was something that I kind of recognized and it wasn't just loaded with all these preservatives, like that was okay to eat. So like instead of buying the 89-cent loaf of bread, I was having to buy the $3 artisano bread that had like no preservatives in it.
Hiding it from the kids. And
Yeah, literally, I was not even joking, hiding it from the kids. And then if it was like loaded with butter or loaded with sugar, like if it had natural sugars, like if you get 100% juices that just have the natural sugar that's in that juice and it doesn't have like a bunch of added sugars, then I would eat that. Essentially, if it was something that was processed like a potato chip or like a pasta, like I didn't eat any pasta because it was just like essentially would just transfer all right into sugars. Like those carbohydrates essentially just transfer right all into glucose. Mm-hmm. And so, I had to give up like chicken Alfredo that I absolutely freaking love. Spaghetti was, whatever. I don't really care for spaghetti. But, essentially if it was processed in any way. So it was amazing to me. Or, another thing, if it was deep fried, like if I was in control of the frying process, like I would eat a fried potato from time to time, like I would cube it. But I was in control of a very small amount of butter or a very small amount of like olive oil to do that frying process. But most of the time I did like a fried in the air fryer or something like that.
Yeah.
So if I was in control of that and it was limited amounts, but like the point with which you go to say like Sonic French fries, they're just dumped into a vat
dripping grease.
Yeah, of grease. And so the same thing, I went to Casey's and I bought like 20 wings because I was like, okay, here's good. Like here's this protein, right? Well, they changed their wings to like breaded kind of deep fried, and so I had to like give them away. Like I paid for these, and I was like, seriously, I was like, fuck. Like Gambino's has the ones that don't have
like the
breading
ones.
on them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just essentially just the chicken wing that's been now like oven roasted. So, I didn't kill myself with just doing like salads and nothing but like rice and sweet potato and, that kind of stuff. And still lost essentially like 25 pounds. Mm-hmm. And, could I have maybe lost 35 or 45 had I stuck to just chicken, fish, sweet potato, rice? Maybe.
That's not sustainable.
I didn't want to set myself up for failure right out of the gate. Like he does say, like follow a diet of some kind and just counting macros and then eating trash to meet your macros and eating empty calories. Like that doesn't count.
Mm-hmm. So you can't save up all your macros for one meal and then eat fucking pizza.
Right. And I will say I did have pizza, but I scraped the toppings off and just ate the toppings. I did not eat the breading at all.
Yeah.
So, and I did have like keto pizza where it's got like that chicken breast crust, stuff like that.
I've never had the chicken breast stuff. I've done the like cauliflower crust, but
yeah,
the chicken breast ones.
It's pretty good. Mm-hmm. I did like
I feel like it would be better than cauliflower crust.
I did a really light like Alfredo sauce on it, and then like did more cheese and chicken and tomatoes and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And did it that way. But it was just like a really interesting process, and I found myself wanting to challenge myself more. Like, I'm going to read like
always take the hard path.
Yeah, I'm going to read like 5 more pages. Or I'm going to wait until it gets dark out because I know it's going to be cold as shit. The times when we had like that -7 degree weather and stuff, my kids hated me because I took them out with me on those. And Alex got stuck with the worst night when it was -7, and like literally I had icicles hanging from my eyebrows and eyelashes, and my mask was frozen. Like, remember that one? Did you see Andy's story where his mask was frozen to his beard? Mm-hmm. If my beard would have been longer, that would have happened to me as well. And it was like negative like 27 with the wind chill that night, and it was god awful cold.
Yeah.
But I was telling my son, like, look around, son. Do you see anyone else out here doing this? Like, we're out here doing this hard shit. Like, we're getting it done.
Getting better.
And
everybody else is sleeping.
Well, everybody else is in their relative general comfort. And so I found myself like really waiting till it was the uncomfortable times, because I could have chosen in the day when the sun was up and it was around, the mid 40s sometimes, or upper 30s. But I found it also interesting that when it was quote unquote cold out to me before doing this, like when it was like 30, 27, when I would go out in the 27 to 32 degree weather, that would feel like summer compared to -7. Like I'd go out and be like, oh, this isn't bad. Whereas beforehand, I would have been like freezing. I'd have been like, oh, this is uncomfortable. Like, get me in a car, warm up the car, whatever. So it was just an overall interesting process that some of the things came easy because, like I guess I was kind of already doing them when it came to the pivoting and the mental aspects of just kind of checking the boxes and getting the day done, because I'd always kind of done that. I'd never done it with 2 workouts and a progress picture and all this, but my brain has recently worked that way, where I go to work and I get this done with the kids and I get this done with the wife, and then I get this and this and this and this done. And then at the end of the day, after I've checked those boxes, then I do the thing that I want. And whether that's gaming, smoking a pipe, etc. So that part was not foreign. Drinking a gallon of water every day was foreign.
Yeah.
But
a lot of people think
doable.
That's a lot, but most people over 100 pounds should probably drink a gallon of water a day.
Well, and I found myself even still thirsty after the gallon.
Mm.
And like I would wake up sometimes at night still thirsty, and I'm like, how am I thirsty? Like I have a gallon of water going through my system. Like
they
this
say
doesn't make
gallon
sense.
for every 100 pounds you weigh.
Dude, 3.5 gallons?
Well, that's when we were playing football. That's what they would say to us.
Yeah. That's a lot of water. Interesting rule of thumb. But it's also attention to the small details, because like Nate was saying with the progress picture, like that's easy to kind of overlook. 2 workouts, like that's a big deal, like in most people's minds.
But it's only an hour and a half, if you think about it. You know? Like that's one of my workouts is an hour and a half, 2 hours most days, one of our workouts is. Yeah. So you're just splitting them up, essentially. You're just doing different things. But the thing is, like, you're still trying to do strongman or your other lifts. You're going to be in there an hour and a half, one of your workouts regardless. And then you still got another 45 minutes later. So you end up working out a lot more.
Well, but I think it's easy to overlook the picture or the reading than it is to overlook working out.
Mm-hmm. Well,
or to overlooking food.
Most people that start 75 hard are already somewhat active before they start, and so they're already working out and this and that, and then they just stack that on top. That was one of my biggest things. I just tried to stack too much on my plate.
That's just your MO in general.
I'm only sleeping 4 hours a night. That doesn't work out good. Or less.
Well, so, like, another thing I thought was interesting was I did my best to try to, like, track all my workouts with my watch. And so in December, I had, well, actually, let me go back, because I started basically at the end of October. So let's do November. So in November, I had of walking workouts, because I didn't track any of my workouts in the gym. Of walking workouts, I had 31 hours, 47 minutes, and 40 seconds in November spent walking. And that was 21,500 calories. And then in December, I had 29 hours, 29 minutes, 47 seconds for a total of 19,000 calories. And so it was kind of cool just to look at some of the statistics and see like how many steps you were getting. I
know my steps went from like 15,000 a day up to like 25, 30,000 a day is what I was getting.
It was just interesting metrics to look at when you put it all on there and just kind of see what you accomplished. And I don't know. To me, I never really looked at, which is something I'm struggling with now, and I don't know why. But when I was doing 75 hard, it was never really negotiable. Like there was no negotiation about it. Like I'd set out to do it. I'd kind of signed a contract with myself. I just went and did it, and there was no negotiation. The day in my mind was already done. Like it was already completed. I was just doing the stuff in the middle it took to get to that completed day.
No, I understand that feeling. It was never a negotiation like when I went through it either. It was like, oh, I just forgot that. Fuck. we're done. It was always like, gotta get this done, gotta get this done. Oh, gonna finish my walk at 12:30 tonight, then go to bed after I've been farming all day.
Yeah.
And then gotta get it done. But it was never, like you said, never a negotiation. It's just the discipline side of that is like, oh, I slept in 20 minutes late this morning, so that threw my whole day off.
Yeah.
And then I forgot to take my picture. And so, I mean, it's just, it teaches you like how things compound in your life, really. Like one decision, what it does throughout your day or your week or 75 days or a year,
Well, you talk about the compounding. Like, I never really read a whole lot unless it was for school and stuff. I absolutely burned through books during 75 Hard. I mean, burned through books. Like, I read so many books during 75 Hard. And then also the fact that it's like you have to read this book and stay with this book until you're done. And then reading the 75 Hard book. It was crazy because Andy and I shared a lot of similarities of childhood. Like, even down to his favorite World War II plane was the P-51 Mustang. And that was mine as well. Being that unmotivated fat kid that was pretty I was pretty decent at baseball. Like, I'm willing to admit that. I mean, I got asked to play on all-star teams when I was because I just had a really good glove. I was still kind of a stocky kid, but I could hit the ball and I could field the ball. And so I was pretty good at that, but I was still fat, overweight, not really the popular kid and all that other good stuff, and not really motivated to really be better or do better. And so it was interesting to read some of those similarities and be like, okay, like I too can do this as well.
Yep.
But speaking of the discipline side, so I'm going through and I'm putting together a meal and stuff, and I'm like, oh, hey, look, some cranberries, or some craisins, I think it was, or something like that. I was like, okay, there's some fruit, I'll eat some of these. And so like I put them in my mouth, and then I turn the bag around as I'm chewing, and I'm looking at the nutrition facts. And it's like 52 grams added sugar. So I'm like, thankfully I hadn't swallowed it yet. So I was like, spitting it out.
Spits them back in the bag.
And put it back in the cupboard. Nobody will know. But like, thankfully, cause
ain't nobody eating craisins anyways.
If I would have swallowed that, I would have had to like start over.
Take it from the top.
And I'm really glad that didn't work out. There was another time that I almost forgot a progress. Well, several times that I laid down and I was like, I went, oh crap, and I got up and took my progress picture. But the worst one was on day 74. I got off at 7 a.m. and then I had to be back up at 9 a.m. to go to a funeral. So day 74, I'm getting home, I'm getting all my stuff up, I'm trying to get into bed, I'm trying to get all this stuff done, get my suit ready, I'm doing all this stuff to get ready to go to this funeral. And I lay down and I'm like, okay, I'll get a couple hours to get some sleep in. And I start trying to go to sleep. Well, then Dallas saved my ass. He texted me and was like, one more day. And I was like, yeah, and I was like, holy crap. Cause I was like in that part where I was kind of starting to like drift off and everything. And then he texted me, which woke me up. And then I was like, holy shit, I forgot to do my progress picture on day 74. Had it not been for Dallas texting me, I would have failed 75 Hard on day 74. I just essentially got lucky there. And then day 70, it was also interesting because about day 70, I was like really excited, really looking forward to being done, deciding what I was going to do to like kind of celebrate or whatever. Like I wasn't going to go out and party or anything and like go back to the old me. But I was like, I'm going to do something to kind of commemorate this. And I kind of settled on going to Success Steakhouse because I'd always wanted to go there. And about day 70, I'm like really happy and excited. And then 72 and then 73 came around and I actually kind of had like a dread feeling. Like it was dreadful. And I felt like it was like, now what? Like, am I going to go back to being the old me? Am I going to go back to being a fat fuck? Am I going to go back to that? Like, I kind of had like a, oh shit feeling. And rather than a, wow, I completed something feeling. Mm-hmm. And I just knew that I was like, okay, like you're just going to have to continue making the decisions you've been making for the last 75 days. Like, this doesn't mean that you just go out and eat like a whole cake and go back to just being who you were. And it's
all about balance.
Yeah, it's been interesting and rough afterwards a little bit too, because like today I found myself, I was like, why don't you, like I was in, no, it was yesterday, I was in Dollar General and I saw this bag of Kit Kats, and I really like Kit Kats. I was like, you can get that now. And I was like, wait a minute. I'm just because you're not doing the 75 hard program doesn't mean just gives you a blank slate.
It's
just
amazing.
go out and do that.
It's amazing how clear you think. Like when you're eating healthy and you're not drinking and you're just doing all the right things. Like how clear your mind is, you know. How much better you sleep.
That's why I didn't want a Dr. Pepper.
Yeah. How much better, like, you think. You wake up in the morning and you've got a clear mind and you're just, like, ready to go, you know?
Well, and also, like, my body didn't feel, like, puffy and bloated because I wasn't eating all the preservatives and all the butter. And not that butter's bad, because I personally think, like, margarines and seed oils and things are probably worse than the overall.
Yeah.
But, you know, of being really cognizant of what's in your food, like, I can't tell you how many different packages I turned around and looked at. And I was like, oh, this looks, you know, halfway decent. And I'm reading it, and I'm like, well, I don't recognize any of that stuff. And all it says next to melodextrohyphamoride is parentheses preservative. And I'm like, nope, put it back. Like, I don't know what that is. I have no idea what chemical compound that is. It may be perfectly good for me. But I don't know that. And so I'm just going to put it back and not eat it.
Nothing wrong with that.
So I would go into Casey's and get food, and it's really limited on what I could get. Basically like beef jerky, and it even would depend on the beef jerky because some of them have a lot of added sugars in them.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd have to be
Jack Link's. Oh my god, it's sweet. Like, I don't want my beef jerky to be sweet. It's disgusting.
Or like wet. Like I bite into it and it's wet. So essentially, really the only things that I got from there, other than like say water, obviously, would be once in a great while. Andy said you can drink diet soda during 75 hard because it didn't have sugar. Mm-hmm. But for me, that was kind of like a treat thing once in a while. Like when I was really jonesing for something sweet, which in the beginning was more frequent, but towards the end it was less frequent. Like I'd find myself like not caring about those foods. Like
I think it's like after the first 2 or 3 weeks, you really start to like not crave those sweets and the chocolates and the sugars.
Well, it's essentially like detoxing off of something you're addicted to is what it is.
My sweet treat was always peanut butter.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I would give myself like a Diet Mountain Dew, just kind of like as a thing to like when I was wanting something sweet or whatever, just kind of like tide me over. It didn't really feed that all the way, but it would like help. But mainly I was like protein bars, because there were some protein bars in there that had like 0 or 2 grams of sugar in them.
Not the Fit Crunch ones.
And no, definitely not those.
and fucking candy bar.
The Metrix bars. Have you ever looked?
Sugar in those
Holy
too.
shit, man! Those things have like 20, 30 grams of sugar in them. I mean, they're loaded with protein, but there's just as many grams sugar as there, or more grams sugar than there is protein.
Ordered some more First Form bars.
Oh yeah, are they good?
I haven't got them yet. Just ordered them Friday. I also got a vest.
So can I mooch off of you on those two? Yes. You just need to start buying me everything. Like, will you just buy me all of my supplements and like my supportive gear and all that stuff?
As long as you pay me back.
That's not what I said. I want you to be my sugar daddy.
I bought some protein for Heather and Felicia. They paid me back though. And then I got some pre-workout for me, and I got
Did you get Ignition?
No, Project One. Ignition's the carbs.
Oh. What's... Oh, maybe it was I had Project One then. I can't remember.
Ignition's the the carbs you mix with your project or with your Formula One protein.
Oh, okay.
I'm super excited about the weighted vest though.
Yeah? What are you going to do with it? Are you going to run, or what are you going to do?
Man, a little bit of everything. Just go shirtless in the wellness center with it on.
Great, we're going to have another sign on the door now.
An ego lifter.
Actually, I was thinking you should just work all day in it.
Yeah, maybe. Might as well. Actually, no. I wear 50 pounds worth of freaking tools on my
What's
hips.
Another 50 pounds, man? You'd be
like
ripped.
My playing weight.
You'd be ripped.
See me crawling around the trusses with that.
I'm kind of trying to think of anything else like that. It was cool to kind of look at the before and after pictures.
I noticed, like, when I, like, in the 44 days or whatever that I did it, like, my tolerance for bullshit went way down.
Yeah.
It's like, that guy, so much potential, but he is meeting absolutely zero of it, and it drove me insane.
Yeah. It was easy to see and also humbling to look back and say, like, holy cow, I've wasted a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
And to then go out and then just execute and see what you did accomplish, it was like, holy cow. Like, I mean, and it wasn't like every day you were pulling a Fortune 500 company out of your ass, right? But just what you accomplished and just, yeah, no shit. What you accomplished and just putting one foot in front of the other.
Mm-hmm.
And then
in 75 days, you just exceed so much. Even in 40 days, you just accomplish so much. And it's not like you don't notice it right away. I notice. I feel like it's like 3 or 4 months down the road is like when you really start to notice that hard work pay off. Or maybe years, but like eventually like that good karma or whatnot. Like from you busting your ass, the universe is going to repay you for that.
Ed Milet, the power of one more. You know, like one more phone call, one more email, one more step, one more workout, one more lift, one more rep.
Mm-hmm.
Of like that next one will like might be what breaks you through. That next email to a customer might be what breaks your company open and opens doors that you never even thought about.
To where you don't have to work 3 full-time jobs to run your business.
But I would say it was cool to also have the first picture and then like look at that picture on day like 10 or 12 or 20.
Because even at 10 days, you see a big difference.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was cool to watch.
You probably see more of a difference in the first 20 days, from 1 to 20.
I would agree.
Than you do in the last.
Yes.
50.
The last part, I was like, the results kind of started to slow a little bit as far as the external results. I think the internal results were more. Mm-hmm. But the external results, they kind of started to not be as, like, I guess maybe pronounced. But I didn't change anything. Like I wasn't like I was eating something else.
You're kind of in that rhythm a little bit, like, where you're grinding and grinding and grinding towards the end. But then, like, that's when you get complacent. Is there at the end, like you said, like you're about to fall asleep on day 74 and hadn't taken the picture. You know, that's when complacency kicks in, when you've been in that rhythm for so long, and that's when the mental aspect of it really kicks into effect.
Dude, Dallas saved my ass. I mean, that was a whole God thing that Dallas saved my ass there, because I was going to fail that day, like I was on my way.
Done.
And to me also, I never feared the failure ever. To me, I was like, okay, if something happens, like, it's not like my birthday's gone, I'll just start over. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm gonna do this. It's not negotiable. And so if I fail on 22, 23, 74, 72, doesn't matter to me. Go back to the beginning, start it all over again. No factor. No factor, as Jocko would say. No factor. Like, it's done. Mm-hmm. If it gets done 80 days from now or 90 days from now or 75 days from now, it doesn't matter to me. It's done.
What's done is done.
And there was something else I was going to bring up, and then I got off tangent on that one, but I don't really remember what it was now. And I'm going to kick myself in the ass. Oh, another thing I didn't think about was, so during Halloween, so obviously, you know, like during Halloween, my wife likes to, I shouldn't say obviously, people don't know, but my wife likes to do a Halloween party. So she'll make all kinds of cool snacks and chili, and people come over and they'll start drinking, and we'll play like different games, Cards Against Humanity. Oh my goodness, why am I drawing a blank?
That game where you toss your keys into the bowl?
No, the one where you, gosh, why am I drawing the blank where you toss the beanbag through the frickin' hole? Cornhole. Jesus, man. I don't know why I couldn't think of that.
Cornholio.
Or you play cornhole, stuff like that. Well, everybody was trying to get me to drink, and like, I can't. And they're like, what? Why? And they explain it to them, and they'd be like, oh, okay.
You're a fucking psychopath.
Well, then I left like right at the beginning of the party, because I'm like, I'm going to get my 45-minute walk-in. Well, there were people that were pissed off at me that I left. There were people that like held a grudge against me. I shouldn't say grudge, but they were angry with me that I'd left, and I'd quote unquote left them out to dry. And I was like, sorry, like I was going to get my work in. Like, and I'm not really big on groups of people, so it was also my chance to decompress and then come back. Mm-hmm. You know, I went out and got my tank refilled and then came back, and I could be a little more extroverted. Yeah. Or like my like I had a buddy that he made mashed potatoes, and he's like, dude, I made these. These are amazing. Like I put a little bit of the juices from the meat. You got to try these, and basically sticks the mashed potatoes in my face on a spoon, which I feel bad because I love cooking for people. So I love when my stuff tastes good and then people taste it and they're like, oh, wow, that's amazing. And I had to tell them I can't.
Yeah.
Because the mashed potatoes were full of a bunch of butter and all the stuff that I wasn't going to eat. And basically, I knew if it tasted like super amazing, like that wasn't something I was going to eat. That was another litmus test.
Yeah.
And it could still taste good, but if it was that like, oh my God, that's good. Like cinnamon rolls and shit like that, you know? That was like the litmus test of it's not good. Good for me. But, you know, of having to like let people down and tell them no, that I wasn't going to eat something or I wasn't going to drink something because I couldn't. And then I had to explain why. Which I wonder if that's like some hidden marketing technique for 75, because you have to tell everybody why you're doing it.
It's like, well, who's Andy Frisella? He's like, well, he owns First Form. It's like, oh, First Form. What's First Form?
Yeah, right, exactly.
It's all part of the marketing scheme. And here we are talking about it on a podcast to other people, so it's working.
Well, and also the way the program came about was because he'd made a bet with some friends that he could lose like, what was it? It was like 100 pounds or 120 pounds or 150 pounds in 75 days.
Mm-hmm.
And the bet was like, what, 250,000?
Yeah.
125 or 250,000. That he couldn't do it, and he basically came up with this program as a result of that, and he lost the weight and won the bet.
Us peasants don't throw around those kind of dollars like that. So.
I'll bet you $5 I can do this.
Yeah, if you're lucky. Most of the time it's like, I'll bet you this. You got to shuck on that beer if you don't.
But yeah, I just wanted to like, you know, say, you know, thank you to my family for essentially tolerating me kind of through this, because when I set my mind to something, like I kind of go all in. And so there were times that I'd have to tell them like, hey, we got to get home because I got to get a workout in, or like, I can't go do that because I've got to get a workout in. Or I need to, you know, I'm like my kids, like my daughter, sometimes I'd be in the middle of reading my book. And like, to me, like that was 10 minutes of non-negotiable time. Cause it'd take me about 10 or 12 minutes to read that.
Yeah.
That was 10 or 12 minutes of non-negotiable time without interruption. So my daughter would be like, can you tuck me in? I'm like, not right now, babe. I'm reading. You know, I'd eventually go do it, but like I wasn't getting up right there in that moment. And, you know, and also to friends that like I would leave in the middle of parties, you know, thanks for tolerating me. And then also thanks to Dallas for, you know, listening to me day in and day out, or, you know, bouncing things off. And also, Dallas, Harmon, and Emily. Harmon, hey, I said it right this time, Dallas. You can smile while you're delivering your mail when you hear that. They also got me like a 75 hard shirt at the end. And that was cool because no matter what, nobody can take away the fact that I did that, that I actually did it. And I actually held myself accountable. Like nobody was there with a gun to my head. Like I did it. It was me. And like nobody made those food decisions. Because I could have easily, like, I could have slipped in a
piece of pizza
at
3 in the morning at Casey's,
and nobody would have known other than me.
But you couldn't live with that.
It wouldn't. I wouldn't have.
Yep.
And you know, I am just humbled at like the process in and of itself, and the fact that Andy gives this program for free, because he truly believes in people being better. And he wants to invest in people and make them better. And that is humbling, because he could take this and sell it. It works. It 100% works. It's not some fad diet. It's not some guy saying, hey, do this, and they've never done it before. Like, he does it. Like, he's doing 75 hard again right now. I think he's on, like, day, like, 38, 40, somewhere around in there.
I think he's constantly doing 75 hard.
Well, he hadn't been because of
his
shoulder, and then well, he actually did it during his shoulder, like in the beginning stages of his shoulder. But he also he was also coming off of his antidepressant and stuff like that, where that was really affecting him. And he said this last year was like kind of the hardest for him, and he was starting 75 hard again during the holidays, kind of like I did. And then because he knew he wanted to build that momentum going through the new year, not just like it was this New Year's resolution. So I think that's another interesting thing, was like at any point in time you can go out and make this decision. I arbitrarily decided to do it on like October 18th or whatever it was. It was the end of October.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like it was some New Year's resolution thing. Like, you should be going out and executing every single day. And that doesn't mean that you have to go out and do 2 45-minute workouts and a progress picture and 10 pages, blah, 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 blah.
Just get 1% better.
Something. Like,
every
for instance, talk yourself out of eating McDonald's. Just that one thing in that day. Or
Set
whatever.
a timer on your social media.
Yeah,
So you're
something.
not on TikTok for 4 hours.
Execute every day to make yourself better. Like, whatever it may be.
Yep.
Execute. And, yeah, I can't say enough. If you haven't done it, if you haven't looked into it, you really need to.
Yep.
There you go.
Rant over.
I talked for 45 minutes.
75 minutes.
You're welcome. That's to the point. That's as to the point as it's going to get with me. And I'm pretty sure I left some stuff out. But I mean, there was a lot, and hindsight being 2020, I should have listened to Dallas and kind of like maybe journaled and kind of kept some notes throughout that process. But I think it would have just been another thing to
Forget
about, and then maybe feel bad about, and then hold it over my own head. So.
Yeah. I think it is like the dichotomy of it, though. Like, you can't take too much ownership in that stuff.
Well, so I tried to go right into Live Hard. So I took 2 days and went right into Live Hard. I failed on day 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started over, and I failed again on day 3 or 4. And I don't know what the deal is. It's my bitch voice, and the fact that I'm unwilling to hold myself accountable at the end of the day. Like, I can make all kinds of excuses. My kids, my schedule, my this, my that, blah, 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 blah. But flipping the switch, I don't know why. I just have like an unwillingness to do it right now, and I don't know what it is. And that doesn't mean like I'm going out and I'm eating cake and I'm drinking a bunch of beer and I'm going to McDonald's every day and I'm like doing all the stuff that I used to do. But like checking those boxes was, I felt like I already explained this to you, but I'll explain it for the podcast. Was whenever you're done with the flu, and you're done, you're no longer congested, you no longer have a fever, you're quote unquote well. The several days afterwards, you just feel run down. Like, no matter how much you're trying to move that after you took the spring off of it. What are you doing, man? I just felt drained, just absolutely drained. And the extra 3 power tasks plus the 10 minutes of
Cold shower.
5-minute cold shower, 10 minutes of dedicated visualization.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it was, but I just let the bitch voice win. That's the best way I can put it. I could sit here and make all kinds of fucking excuses in the world, but I let the bitch voice win. And I don't know, like right now I'm just trying to regroup and see where I go. And like you were telling me, like I was really beating myself up over it, and you're like, man, you can take too much ownership. And Dallas said it best. Nobody can take 75 hard away from you.
Mm-hmm.
You did it. Nobody can take that away.
Done.
And I've got a year to complete Live Hard from the day that I started 75 hard.
Yeah.
So maybe it's still in the cards. I hope it is, because I think I will grow better. And
maybe
I really
it'll happen, maybe it won't. I mean, you'll probably do 75 hard again in your life. So
well, and I was thinking about that. How cool would it be to say I've done 75 hard 10 times,
mm-hmm.
or I've done 75 hard every year for the last 20 years, or I've done Live Hard every year or every other year, because Live Hard's really only 90 days if you think about it.
To me, it's not something like, I feel like it's a refocusing thing. Like when you get out of line, when you do notice like, oh fuck, I've been eating too much. Like I'm getting out of line. Like I need to do 75 hard and get like realigned, like I need to do the right things. I feel like it can be a tool for that. So it doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it every year.
Yeah. Yeah. But I was just thinking to myself, like as a thought experiment, because obviously I had a lot of time walking where I could just sit and think.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, like I spent a lot of time during those walks doing visualization or planning speeches, like of situations, like if I had to talk during a situation. Yeah. So it visualized a lot about that. Like I'm not going to lie, a lot, because that's like a huge goal.
That's what it takes.
And what I would do and what I wouldn't do. So we're coming up on an hour, so I think we should probably wrap it up.
Sounds good to me.
So, everyone, thanks for listening to the Higher Points podcast. And, of course, the heater comes on as I'm giving the conclusion here. But we appreciate you listening to the Higher Points podcast. Check us out on social media, on Instagram at the Higher Points, Facebook at the Higher Points podcast. Our website's www.thehigherpoints.com. Also, if you go to the contact page there and email us, we are renting out the podcast studio. So if you want to kind of see what it's like, what equipment we have, record some of your own podcasts, or even like I have a cousin that wanted, or excuse me, a nephew that wanted to record some of his music. I mean, this would be a way that he could do that. Mm-hmm. We have some ways that you can plug instruments in and stuff. It's kind of limited, but you could. So just we appreciate it. We're humbled that you have taken the time to join us. Just keep liking, and please, we beg you, share the podcast. Put it on your stories. Put it on your timeline. Share it. Tyrone, I see you, homie. You're sharing it every time. Love you, man. Keep it up. So we'll catch up with you guys next time.
See you guys.